Ready? Okay. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. So as always, this is our Monday press conference in which we address two primary issues. We have a third to address today, but the two primary issues will be an update of gun violence. And then second, the issue we had planned to speak about and will speak about is an important arrest for contractor fraud that has very adversely affected several people. We will be discussing that in some detail. The third issue, of course, is the one that developed last night, and that is the tragic loss of 3 lives. There's not a lot that we can say about the facts yet for a couple of reasons. But it would appear that 3 young people have lost their lives, 2 of them state troopers, 1 a civilian, and that a young driver is potentially facing extremely serious consequences in this incident. I do not want to get ahead of our law enforcement partners who are actively investigating this matter. I don't think it is our place to reveal the information that they are gaining. I think it is their place when they are ready to do that. And I also don't want to get ahead of the trauma and the pain the families are suffering, as well as their colleagues. I will tell you that the DA's office is on location at the Trooper Barracks, Belmont Barracks, and that we are receiving updates all the time. I am sure there will be more information coming from our law enforcement partners. But as I said, in this terrible tragedy, we feel it is not our position to explain what is known at this time. Obviously, the investigation is also ongoing. I'd like to acknowledge some of the people who are here. We have both first assistants, Robert Listenby and the Honorable Carolyn Engel-Temin. Assistant District Attorney Anthony Gill is here, who has primarily handled the contractor fraud matter. He is a DA. He is an assistant DA with our Economic Crimes Unit. Our Chief of Economic Crimes, Kim Essick, could not be here today, but she has done a wonderful job in relation to this case. We have ADA Joanne Pescatore, who is supervisor of the DAO Homicide and Non-Fatal Shooting Unit. Reverend Myra Maxwell, the executive director of the DA's Victim Support Services Division, is here, and Melanie Nelson, director of the DAO CARES Unit, is here as well. And of course, we have Deb Watson-Stokes, who is a senior advisor on a number of important matters, including professional development, but has a real focus on gun violence, and she is here as well. I'm going to turn to the gun crimes update. We have today, and this is as of March the 20th at 11:59 p.m., we have 107 homicides year to date. There were 108 homicides on this date last year. This is a decrease of 1%. Obviously, that is not good news, but we remain hopeful that there's the possibility we're going in a better direction. Last week there were 6 homicides, 19 non-fatal shootings. During the pandemic period in general, we've seen about 1.5 homicides per day or 10.5 per week. So certainly 6 homicides is a little better than that. Like I said, not good news, but a little better than 10.5. 64 cases were opened involving guns or gun violence. These, of course, stem from any past incident, not just incidents that occurred last week. And the median cash bail set for illegal possession of guns last week, according to our data, was $75,000. If we exclude the cases where defendants were held without bail, the median cash bail set for violent gun offenses was $225,000. Needless to say, we have for a very long time been seeking a dollar less than $1 million, about $1 million, on violent gun cases, almost every single one. And we have seen a very long-standing and consistent pattern now for nearly 2 years of bail being set at a much lower level. Cash bail is failing us. Overall, there were 115 gun-related incidents reported to the police department. There were 65 arrests made by the Philadelphia Police Department for cases that were in some sense solved. And of those 65 arrests, there were 64 cases opened by the district attorney's office. I want to turn to a couple of particular incidents, just two. The first is a shooting incident, a double shooting, that occurred on Sunday, March 20th, at about 2:51 a.m. in the 2700 block of South Randolph Street. Victim number one was an approximately 34-year-old Hispanic male, shot once in the chest. He was transported to Jefferson and placed in critical condition. Victim number two, an approximately 22-year-old Hispanic male, was shot once in the left thigh. He was placed in stable condition at Jefferson. There is no arrest that has been made at this time. In this incident, the investigation remains ongoing. Anyone with information, please contact PPD's Shooting Investigation Group at 215-686-8270. There is also a domestic violence shooting incident on Sunday, March the 20th at about 11:46 p.m. on the 4200 block of North Darien Street. A 40-year-old black male was shot once in the right leg. He was transported to Temple Hospital by medics and placed in stable condition. An arrest has been made by PPD. The investigation remains ongoing. Anyone with information should contact PPD's Shooting Investigation Group at 215-686-8270. Obviously, we find ourselves enjoying an improvement in the weather. Spring is coming, summer is coming on, and historically, Philadelphia, like most of the country, has experienced an increase in shootings during warm weather months. So let me be real clear. Our office will not tolerate any person making the decision to pick up a gun, to shoot, to rob, to assault, to rape, to commit any other crime in the city and county of Philadelphia. When those cases are solved, we will continue to vigorously prosecute them and take those gun-related offenses extremely seriously. Anyone considering committing a carjacking, shooting, or illegally possessing a firearm should think long and hard, or you may be thinking long and hard in a jail cell. If arrested, we will hold you accountable. And the DAO will continue to advocate for appropriate funding and support of faith-based and community-based organizations that prioritize anti-violence efforts, anti-violence intervention, prevention, particularly ahead of the warm weather months. And we will not stop advocating for better forensics, as we have been doing for years, because more of these cases need to get solved, and we all need to be working together to give the PPD the tools that they need now and have needed for decades to do a better job in that regard. I'd like to call forward Melanie Nelson, who runs our CARES unit, to provide an update on the work that CARES has done in the last week before we turn to our second topic. Melanie?
Good morning. First, my condolences to the two state troopers' family members and to the civilians' family members. Our condolences. CARES responded to 5 family members, 6 family members total during the week of 3/12/2022 to 3/18/2022, providing 18 services to those family members. It was good news, as Dean Krasner said. We had 1 homicide over the weekend. So that means that we will continue to help those who are co-homicide survivors, and for those agencies that are doing preventative work for those who choose to use gun violence. Some of the things that we are doing is working. So we will continue to do what we can for those in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. So sometimes people criticize reform prosecutors or progressive prosecutors with the notion that it's all about what they don't prosecute. They don't prosecute possession of marijuana. They don't prosecute sex work, for example. What they don't talk about is what we do prosecute and what it is that all over the country and in Philadelphia we do that is different than what was done before. One of those areas has to do with economic crimes, and it has to do with fraud. The truth is that criminal justice for a very, very long time has focused on prosecuting broke people and poor people, sometimes turning a blind eye to people whose crimes are committed for money, who are affluent, either justly or unjustly. I think this case gives an example, not necessarily of a wealthy person, but it gives an example of the potential that is there for a properly funded prosecutor's office to protect the public in ways that go above and beyond how that protection has occurred in the past. I think we have shown that with some of our deed theft, house theft, deed fraud, deed forgery prosecutions, and I believe this is one more example. I want to affirm the work of the chief of our economic crimes unit, Kim Essick, who's done an amazing job, and also ADA Anthony Gill and staff assigned to the unit for the pursuit of justice for the victims on this particular case and every case they are assigned. ADA Gill came to our office with a wealth of experience, and he has served us very effectively in more than one role. But he is passionate about economic crimes, and he is passionate about protecting people whose lives can be turned upside down by someone else's greed. So it is my pleasure to call ADA Anthony Gill forward to talk about this matter.
Good morning, everyone. As DA Krasner indicated, my name is Anthony Gill. It's one L-G-I-L. And I'm an assistant district attorney here at the district attorney's office, focusing mostly on economic crime. Now, I'm here to give you an update on a contractor case that we've been working for some time. So, for the past 5 years, an individual by the name of Juan Rodriguez has held himself out as a contractor in the city of Philadelphia under various company names, but mostly under DSV Construction Services. Beginning in 2008, our office was made aware, it's 2018, excuse me, our office was made aware that Rodriguez had walked off several jobs. These were jobs where Rodriguez was paid in full, or mostly in full, but then walked off and did only part of the work. Now, criminal conduct in these cases can be somewhat tricky, but it's more firmly established when there's a pattern or behavior. And our investigation revealed that from 2017 through 2021, Rodriguez defrauded at least 10 individuals in and around Philadelphia by taking money, doing part of the work, and walking off the job with little to no explanation. Our investigation further revealed that there were at least 10 instances in which Rodriguez did this, and at least 4 of those victims were over 60. The total amount that Rodriguez is alleged to have taken is over $420,000. Now, what's troubling here, it's the pattern. When a contractor such as Rodriguez takes money, walks off the job with little to no explanation, and doesn't finish it over and over and over again, we go from one type of case to another, and that other type of case would be criminal. We're looking at criminal conduct here when there's a pattern that's established. In one particularly egregious example, Rodriguez took money from a victim to rebuild a house after a fire. Now, what's significant about that fire is that it killed her mother. So you have a grieving victim who pays money to this contractor, and that grieving victim is left basically with a shell of a house. Now, in any kind of an investigation like this, we always give the contractor the ability to come and explain to us what happened. Now, our office gave Rodriguez a chance to explain what happened, and Rodriguez also spoke to at least one media outlet. And when he's given an opportunity to explain everything, here's what he says. He told media sources that he walked off jobs due to COVID-19 and rising costs. He actually walked away on many of those jobs prior to COVID-19. He told media sources that he walked away because of price increases for supplies and change orders. But some of these victims actually paid for supplies. Rodriguez never returned those supplies. Even when one particular victim asked for the supplies, Rodriguez said, "I'll give you $5,000. He also never gave the victim back the $5,000. He told our detectives that in many of these cases, he had disagreements with the homeowners about change orders and then walked off the job. However, once again, these homeowners confirmed to our detectives that they wanted him to finish all the jobs, in fact, called him over and over and over again, and Rodriguez never responded. Finally, Rodriguez told one victim that he couldn't complete the job because he got caught up with the George Floyd protests. We found that despite his statement to that victim, Rodriguez was actually taking money from other people during that time and also completing other jobs. As a result of our investigation, Rodriguez was arrested on March 18, 2022 and charged with 13 counts of home improvement fraud, felony of the second degree, 11 counts of theft by deception, 11 counts of theft by unlawful taking, 11 counts of theft by failure to make required disposition of funds, all felonies of the second degree, as well as 11 counts of deceptive business practices as a felony of the third degree, 11 counts of misapplication of entrusted property, misdemeanor of the second degree, and 11 counts of securing execution of documents by deception, which is a misdemeanor of the second degree. I just want to conclude by saying that when a homeowner gives their hard-earned money to a contractor, they expect that contractor to do the job, do it right, and not walk away. Just work diligently on the project. In this case, Rodriguez did none of that. So that's why he's standing here charged today.
Thank you, Tony. So just a couple of words about that. For anybody who ever felt like a little out of place walking into a car mechanic shop or meeting with a contractor knowing that they have a level of expertise that you don't have, knowing that you're entrusting something of significance in your life to another person, there's a lot of honorable, hardworking contractors out there. They do a great job. This isn't one. Anyone who has had work done by this particular contractor is welcome to contact ADA Anthony Gill, and that should be at anthony.gil, anthony.gil@phila.gov. We would like to hear more about that. Bear in mind that this is someone who, as we stand here today, it's a matter of public record, has been sued by the Attorney General's office for 4 other matters than the ones that we are talking about. This is a very concerning situation all around. It is crucial that people are able to trust in their contractors of whatever sort, whether they are construction contractors or other kinds of contractors. And we are not going to tolerate a situation where these kinds of things are done to people who don't even know what to do after the fraud is perpetrated upon them. It's just not right. Are there any questions about any of the matters that have been raised today? Yes, please.
What were the other names? You said that was one name, DSV was the one name. Were there any other names that, like companies, these people who don't recognize?
Sure. And if you just give me a moment, I'll give you the names of the companies. One was DSV Construction Services. That is the company that Rodriguez actually owns. However, he also marketed himself under DSV Construction. DSV Construction is not Rodriguez's company. It's owned by somebody else. But he did market himself at one point as simply DSV Construction. Furthermore, there was also a Another company that Rodriguez worked under, which was C&C Construction and C&C Construction. So there are three names of companies that Rodriguez marketed himself under, but the most recent company that he marketed himself under was DSV Construction Services, LLC.
And also just people generally, I feel like with contractors, you hear stories just like in conversation, bad contractor, yada, yada, yada. When is it that they should call and think that something may be criminal or that they're getting ready to take it?
I think that this case is illustrative of when you should call, because you have someone that took all this money from you, then did some of the job, sometimes in a very shoddy manner, and then just walked away, right? So the second that a contractor walks away from the job and does this multiple times, it could potentially become a criminal matter. So you might not know that at home, that it's a criminal matter, but if you reach out to the police and file a police report or reach out to our office and let us know, then we're in a position where we could say, look, this person has done this multiple times, and there's a pattern here.
You know, I would simply add to that anytime you have a contractor show up and take a large materials deposit or insist on all the money up front, and then they're very attentive until they get the cash or they get the check, and then all of a sudden they're not attentive, you should be concerned. That's a very problematic situation, frequent occurrence, and unacceptable. So please reach out at that point. You don't need to wait a month. Please reach out as soon as you notice that the money's out of your hand and the activity doesn't seem to be going anywhere close to schedule. Yes, please.
I have a question about the I-95 crash last night. I understand you can't reveal a ton of details, but can you speak in general terms about, when you're making a charging decision in a vehicular case, what sorts of factors are you considering?
I can do it, but I'm actually going to invite my Chief of Homicide and Non-Fatal Shootings, Joanne Pescator, with whom I had this discussion just this morning, to respond.
Hi. There's a lot that goes into charging. So if a person was under the influence of either drugs or alcohol, were they speeding? Was there a pattern of what they were doing? Did they go through numerous stop signs, red lights? Were they swerving about the road? A lot of that stuff you have to be able to prove as well. So that would depend on what the charges would ultimately be in a case such as this. Hopefully we will get that information and be able to let you know as soon as we know.
Is there any evidence yet that the driver in this case was swerving, running?
I don't want to comment on that right now. I'm not a part of the investigation. Jessica Chung, who handles our homicide by vehicle cases, is at the barracks right now.
Are there any other questions about any of these matters? All right, thank you very much.